what is that goat thing called? That's like satanic.
It's
got a
called
name.
Baphomet.
That, yeah, I saw a huge one of those at one of the title Rock Nation parties in New York, and that was I've never seen anything like that. And that statue had like the title logo on it. I was thinking, wow, this is crazy, compelling, you know?
And it was just right in the open, like you walked in and it was just
it was right as you walk in. Jay-Z's such into witchcraft and such into symbolism that it's just crazy, and I think that's his influence. Well, Jay-Z 100% is a cuckold, right? He likes to watch his woman, Beyonce, with other men.
And how do you have any proof of this? Or you saying for a fact that Jay-Z is into similar behavior as Diddy? He likes to, basically what Cassie was put through. He likes to watch his girl get in relationships with other men while he sits there and enjoys himself.
That's correct.
Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to The Truth Is, where I drop new videos every other day exposing the truth. In today's episode, I will be having a conversation with industry publicist Jonathan Hay. I did an interview with him a few weeks back, and after many of you requested, I wanted to invite him back on so we can have a conversation about some of the things he said and more industry secrets he exposed. I want to thank Jonathan Hay for coming on the platform to have this chat with me. You're going to want to watch this video to the end as things get deep. Now, let's get right into it. Hey, what's up, Jonathan? How you doing today?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you once again for allowing me to do a part 2 to our first interview. And, you know, in the last interview, you said so much and we ran out of time. So hopefully we can be able to get through all the questions today.
Okay, no problem. So
the first thing I wanted to ask you, because it was the main thing that I kept seeing in the last interview, is why do you have Drake posters, what they're saying? I know it's not a poster, it's an album cover, correct?
Correct.
People want to know, why do you have Drake behind you? They kept saying that they don't understand why you're, you know, saying the things that you're saying about Drake, but then you have this poster of him behind you.
Well, it's just like, you know, that chapter of life, that chapter of my life is behind me. And I was going to draw something on it. I was going to throw darts at it. I don't know what it was for, really. And plus, I was on the what we've been talking about has been on the song Sandra's Rose, which is on Scorpion. And so it's just kind of like a reminder of the industry and what I've been through. And, you know, it's always staring at me in my face, you know, is that album cover, because that was such a game changer in that period in my life.
Yeah, what I saw, to me, I thought it was like what Drake does. You know how Drake sneak disses, you know, these little subliminals around?
Yeah.
I felt that was, you know, your way of basically doing just that. And
probably that as well.
The first question I really wanted to ask you was, with all the stuff that's been going on with Diddy recently and, you know, the industry, the parties and all that, there's been a lot of talk about these industry parties, about these parties that take place behind the scenes that the fans don't know about. We hear about them. People hear about all these amazing Hollywood parties. But now that all this information is coming out with Diddy, you know, we're figuring out that the parties weren't that amazing. There was definitely some foul play going on at those parties. Would you say that you were ever invited to a party like that, or you witnessed firsthand an experience, you know, similar to what they're describing Diddy's party? You know, not necessarily that you were at a Diddy party, but just a party similar to that.
Correct. I've been invited to an actual Diddy party, but it wasn't what we know as Diddy parties now. It was more along the lines of, you know, going to Diddy's house in Los Angeles, and there was going to be a party there. And me and my ex at the time, I didn't go. Now, seeing all the things that have happened, you know, I wish that we would have went, because I'm like curious to see if I would have recognized anything or known anything, you know, was off or suspicious, or, you know, like if it was as overt as everyone was saying, or like, you know, how did it go? So I'd be able to explain it better today. And the reason why we were invited is because I was signed to the Notorious B.I.G., his estate, in 2020 and 2021, and that was during the pandemic. So Biggie's son, CJ Wallace, and his partner, Willie Mack, would always invite me to come over and make sure we go to Diddy's house because that's where all the parties are. But they never described it as something as criminal.
Yeah, I don't think no one has really, because this year's that we're really hearing about it being a criminal party. Before it was just a great time. That's what everyone would describe it as. But
Correct.
that doesn't mean that there wasn't a party in a party, or like what he's being accused of. Maybe you guys had a good time because you were drugged. You know, maybe you don't really know how good of a time you were having because supposedly they were lacing these bottles that they were serving the females. So, you know, maybe they don't even remember what happened at those parties, you know? But
Right.
what I want to know is any other industry party that you went to, would you say had a similar vibe to this, or you felt could have ended up in one of these scenarios where there's a party within a party, or, you know, something that's dark within the party?
Yeah, I think all the industry parties have a tendency to get like that, but it's more like going into the bathroom or going into like a different room or a closet, and usually partaking in drug use instead of it being out in the open. Whereas it seems like Diddy's, after everybody left, that's when everything kind of came out in the open. But yeah, like every industry party that I've been to has been pretty vulgar, to say. Not like you know and sexual stuff and seeing everybody like do that, but as far as like the drug and alcohol use, for sure.
In the last interview, we spoke about, you know, the industry's connections to masonry and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
my one question would be, did you ever see any of that firsthand? Like, did you ever go to a party or a studio session and you see things that stand out, like maybe a statue of a satanic statue, or cult symbols, or things that just stick out to you and made you question why is that there, and made you think that this is kind of satanic or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. The what is what is that goat thing called that's like satanic? It's
It's
got a
called
name.
Baphomet.
That. Yeah, I saw a huge one of those at one of the title Rock Nation parties in New York. And that was that I've never seen anything like that. That freaked me out. Like when you walked into the like when you walked into the party room for title, and Jay-Z wasn't even there, but all his staff was like the Rock Nation, because see, Rock Nation was very very much in charge of title, and so like all the Rock Nation people were there. But that was weird, and that statue had like the title logo on it. I was thinking, wow, this is crazy, compelling.
And it was just right in the open, like you walked in and it was
Yeah,
just staring you there.
yeah, it was right as you walk in. I'm sure there has to be. I'll look and see if I can see any pictures online of it, because it seems like there would be. Um, I can't think of the name of it. It was like a museum or and it had this bottom floor, this party room, and that's where it was. And like right when you walked in, I don't think it was. I don't think it was put there for the party. I feel like it was always there, but I'm not for sure.
And this is a location in
In New
downtown
York.
Manhattan.
Yeah, and yes, of course.
Okay. You know, Baphomet is one of the main occult symbols. It's a deity, but it's also a representation. So it's like it makes sense. Would you have seen anything else? Like there's this, even with the Diddy situation, a lot of people are saying that it was ritualistic. There's this one woman named Ali Carter. She claims to be a victim of Diddy. And she claims that she was the party favors at the party. She was underage at the time, and she was essentially the party favor. She was presented to guests and stuff like that. And she claims that she witnessed satanic rituals taking place, you know, at the Diddy events. Have you seen any type of things that you would say would be a ritual while you were in the industry at a party, or, you know, a studio session or anything of that sort?
No, but like when you're doing that kind of music and that kind of content and you're coming together in like the studio or in a large party, I think that is kind of just naturally happening and you don't even realize it.
Yeah,
You
I
understand
agree.
what I'm saying? It's like when those vibrations and that energy and that music and that narrative and that brand is happening, you're kind of taking part of it and not realizing it,
100%.
you know? But see, that's the thing about Biggie's son, CJ Wallace and Willie Mack, is they were very active in Diddy's life, and especially with his son, King Combs, right? Christian Combs,
Yeah,
and like very very close, and they would take over, like the party favors, because we were doing a house project, and what I've noticed about the house and techno project that we were doing with Biggie is, Puffy was real involved with Burning Man, and he was involved with Miami Music Week, all like the raves, electronic music festival. And from what I get, Puffy got really involved in that type of music. Like that's what he loved. That's what he listened to, is house, techno, electronic music. And so they would constantly, get party favors and taking them to Diddy from what they told me, because as I shifted towards that space, and that was the first project I've done like that, and that was in 2021. I noticed that world, and being in New York and Ibiza and Tulum, is very much like psychedelics, DMT, ketamine. It's that it's that type of vibe. So I know that CJ Wallace and Biggie, they've been, and Willie Mack, they've been out there as, marijuana advocates, which is legal, but and they create, like, they sell like paraphernalia, with Frank White, the brand. But I used to know, I know that they used to get like everything, because when I got to Los Angeles and I was doing the business deal with them, like they opened up like everything. They were like a smorgasbord of different whatever drugs you could want. And I've never in my life witnessed that before, that many drugs that I've ever seen. And, Biggie's best friend was Diddy, and that's Biggie's son. So it's not like hard to put together, like now as we see that they were very, very involved.
yeah. That drug use, I don't think has ever been hidden from the public. Even in the movie, you ever seen the movie Get Him to the Greek?
Yes.
Diddy literally plays the role where they have this party and he tells a woman to hook up with what's his name, Jonah Hill.
Right.
I remember that scene, and then he gives them substances and they all start tripping out. So it's like right in the open. I don't think it's ever been hidden that
I agree.
there's a lot of this within the industry, and I think it all comes from Aleister Crowley. If you know who Aleister Crowley is, right?
Correct.
He preached mostly about substances and using them to get you to that higher state and all that. And last time you were telling me about Diddy and ketamine, he tried to offer it to you, offer it to you, and he told you that if you took it, you'll be able to make the music better.
Correct.
That's that same thing. It's like they see the substance as this superpower to make them transcend to a higher level.
Correct.
All right.
And because that's like when that happened, with we put out the Big Papa House mix, and like I told you, he was negative about it. He wasn't really feeling it, and that's when he was like, you guys need to do ketamine, and you need to get, lost in the music. That's what everybody in Burning Man, that's what everybody, is listening to in house music, is ketamine. So you gotta basically tap into that spirit, into that wavelength and frequency.
Another a quick question.
Hmm.
Do you I'm pretty sure you've heard the rumors of artists selling their souls. Do you believe in that? Do you think that there are some artists that sell their souls?
Yeah, but I don't think it's like, where you go into a room and you say, by yourself, and you say, I'm gonna sell my soul. I think it's a choice, like, that you compromise, you know, yourself for various things and various opportunities.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's in a sense it could be both. There's some people that are, that believe in the occult and practice witchcraft, and they spiritually sell their souls. But compromising it, I believe, is another way to sell your soul. If you're going against your morals for any compensation or just to succeed, you're essentially selling out. Isn't that what a sellout would be called?
Correct.
So it's the same thing. And my point is, do you think that the industry forces artists to do that on purpose, or do you think that's just a way to make it in the music industry? That's the brand. So essentially, what I'm trying to say is that an artist that gets signed, they'll make them change the way they dress, change the way they talk, make them push a certain lifestyle. Is that just to succeed, or do you think that there's an agenda behind it?
I it happens, more gradually and more manipulative, you know, instead of like, you know, handing somebody something and say, you know, choose, right? Or, you know, take this, take that, like Biggie would say, I mean, like Diddy would say. But for example, when we went out to Los Angeles to do the Notorious Big project with this estate, I had never, like I said, I had never done drugs. I had never, you know, done those type of things. And then I have these, you know, people that I look up to and I really respect that seem to have their life together. And it's just like, you know, we know that you went through like the home invasion, you have trauma. You know, DMT is really, really good for for your trauma. Ketamine is good for your trauma. Psychedelics are good for your trauma. You know, and they just gradually work things in, and the next thing you know, you're fully blown, immersed into that. You know, like I told you, 2023 last year was a really, really rough year for me because I was really into that whole lifestyle.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I just found myself in it in 2020. Before I got with those people, I wasn't anywhere. I would have never done the next thing, you know, 3 years later, I'm, you know, and into all kinds of like psychedelics and stuff. And I'm thinking that, you know, it's helping me and helping me heal when it definitely wasn't.
Yeah, I feel that it's definitely manipulative. It's like they egg you on little by little.
Hmm.
But what I was trying to ask you is do you think that is the record label's final agenda? Like, do you think that at the end of the day, that's what they want the artist to become? Not just because it sells records, but because that's what they want to push. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah, yeah, for sure,
you worked in as a publicist,
for
so
sure,
you created narratives
for
and you
sure.
helped push these narratives. Would you say that these narratives always had this, this negative lifestyle attached to it?
Yes, for sure, no question.
Do you think that an artist can still be successful without having those, you know, drama narrative or negative stereotypes attached to them?
I do, and especially nowadays. Like I think what we're realizing that we're seeing is a complete paradigm shift with Diddy being locked up, and then hopefully next Jay Z is the culture is changing and shifting. Whereas I think nowadays you'll be able to navigate a lot better without making so many compromising, you know, choices and those type of things. Like the industry as we know it, with all the different layoffs and job switches and mergers, like it's totally been it's being gutted as we speak.
Yeah, I was seeing that record
Hmm.
labels were selling selling their catalogs or selling their to like investment companies. It's very interesting. The
Correct.
fact that you mentioned Jay Z though, in the last interview we spoke about Rihanna and Jay Z, and when I asked you if you believe they had anything together, you said that you do believe that there might have been something that was going on with them. I want to
Correct.
ask you if you heard of this story, during that time, because this is what I believe was floating around the internet. They were saying that allegedly Jay Z gave Rihanna an STD, and that Rihanna allegedly gave that STD to Chris Brown, and that's what caused the fight, the breakup or whatever, that that Jay-Z was allegedly sleeping with Chris Brown at the same, I mean, not Chris Brown, with Rihanna at the same time that Rihanna was sleeping with Jay-Z. Did you hear anything about that? Would you happen to know if that's true, or maybe not true, but if you heard anything about that?
I did hear those rumors, and when you said Jay-Z was sleeping with Chris Brown, I also heard that rumor as well.
Also, you heard a rumor of Jay-Z hooking up with Chris Brown as well?
Yeah, because like Diddy, Jay-Z's sexual preference is peculiar to say the least.
And that's another thing. You, in the last interview, you said that Jay-Z was bi, and that you were 100% sure that he was.
Correct.
How do you know this?
I know it from being around, and without saying, the name of the people, because I know a lot of people don't want to be involved in these type of things because they've moved on in their lives or they have families and everything else. But I was there and I witnessed some very, questionable behavior for sure. And like the tour that I was on with Jay-Z, they did a documentary. It was Jay-Z, DMX, Amil. They made like, what was the name of the documentary? But it was that tour, and they had trans women on the bus, and not like the 2024 trans women that you see, where like sometimes you're surprised. You see these stuff on like Instagram and videos of like a woman that, it's like, wait a minute, that was a man before. It was like clearly like a a, a person almost. I don't want to say drag, but clearly you could tell that it was a man. There wasn't any mistaking that this trans woman was on the tour bus and was going out on tour, with Jay-Z, Memphis Bleak, PD Crack, all that whole entire tour.
Recently, I did a video on Jay-Z, right? And I spoke about, it was actually on Pimp C. The
Mm.
video was on Pimp C, and because his close friend Pimpin' Ken, he claims that he has a videotape that Pimp C recorded of a famous R&B singer and hooking up with a man that's not her current boyfriend or her current husband. And everyone in the comments said that it was Beyonce in the video that Pimp C has. And in another interview he did, the Pimpin' Ken, he basically admitted that the people in the comments were commenting that it was the right person. So he's basically admitted that it was Beyonce.
Right.
Did you hear anything of that sort, like of Jay-Z having similar behavior to Diddy, in the sense that he would let his woman be recorded with other men or stuff like that?
Well, Jay-Z 100% is a cuckold, right? He likes to watch his woman, Beyonce, with other men.
And how do you do you have any proof of this, or did you hear about this somehow?
Like being around and being direct, and them other people around him asking the woman that I was dating at the time, was asking if I would be into anything like that, but also being vague, where like rejecting the possibility. He could always deny it, and oh, that's not what we meant. But that's exactly what he meant. But yeah, just like I said, being around Rock Nation and Tidal and all those things, it was pretty common knowledge that Jay-Z is someone like Diddy that's now out in the open, that likes to watch his wife with other men.
Okay. So do you think that there is a possibility that that tape exists? Maybe it's not, because the whole running rumors that Jay-Z might have gotten Pimp C, eliminated or taken out because he had this tape of Beyonce hooking up with another man allegedly, and he also had beef with Pimp C didn't like Jay-Z. And then in the video I did, I showed repeatedly how many people around Pimp C said that he had hatred for Jay-Z, and they blamed it on Tupac, but it didn't
Mhm.
make sense to me because Pimp C is from the South, Tupac is from the West Coast. They didn't know each other at all. There was no relationship there whatsoever. But somehow he hated Jay-Z so much and blamed it on that. I think it was just like something to cover up the real reason, you know?
Right.
But that's interesting. So you saying for a fact that Jay-Z is into similar behavior as Diddy. He likes to, basically what Cassie was put through. He likes to watch his girl get in relationships with other men while he sits there and enjoys himself.
That's correct, and that's one of the reasons that we said in the last interview when I was talking about him being bi, because what else is that when you want to watch another man with your wife and you're measuring yourself? I know it's cuckolding. I know all that, but like this is firsthand information from something that I've dealt with, an experience that I've dealt with. That Jay-Z is definitely a cuckold, and it's not women, it's men that he wants to see with Beyonce.
You know,
that's why I was like, he's definitely bi. You know.
I agree. I think that I'll say this: if he wasn't embarrassed of this, or if he felt that it was something not to be embarrassed of, I don't think he would be hiding it. You know, I think that especially in this day and age when you could do whatever the heck you want. So I don't think that he would be hiding that if he wasn't embarrassed of it. He also comes from a different time, but still, it's the same behavior with Diddy. Diddy obviously didn't want people to know that he was paying men to come do stuff to Cassie while he did that.
Correct.
So do you think that there's more people like Diddy and Jay-Z that are doing this in there? Is this something normal in the music industry?
I don't know. They're the only ones that I know that are really, into it, and they were at the very top of the food chain, and that's their like fetishes and their kinky, behavior that they like to, partake in. But I don't think Jay-Z is as sloppy as Diddy. It seems like Diddy got very comfortable with his sexual appetite and his perversions, which is like he would just fly in all these different male, escorts and, for his parties and stuff like that. Whereas I think with, Jay-Z, like he has to have a, like a relationship and a sort of trust. And that's why it was really surprising to me to see, Ray J come out speaking against, Jaguar Wright. And he's like, Beyonce, oh, Beyonce, because Ray J is one of those people that is allowed to be with Jay-Z's wife.
Interesting. So you're saying essentially that Ray J is one of those men that Jay-Z would watch hook up with Beyonce, allegedly?
Correct.
Very interesting. Have you heard of Thelema before?
No.
Thelema is actually the religion that Aleister Crowley founded. It's a cult religion, and it focuses on sex magic. Have you heard of sex magic before?
No.
Well,
just from like the Chili Peppers song or the album.
Yeah, they're also followers of Aleister Crowley.
Mm.
Sex magic is a form of ritual magic, and it's all about sexual energy and sexual forces. And one of the things that they would do is do exactly what you're saying right now. They would have their wives, their significant others, hook up with other members of the religion as a ritual, and they would watch, and they would all partake in the ritual together, and it would release, sexual energy to them. I know for a fact that Jay-Z is a Thelemite because he actually wore Aleister Crowley. He wore a sweater with Aleister Crowley's Creole on it, "Do what thou wilt," which it really is, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." It's the main concept of the religion of Thelema. And that's why I ask you if you've seen anything satanic within the music industry, because Baphomet is also another deity that's honored in Thelema. Thelema doesn't see anything. They don't see any specific deity as their god. They channel these deities. The fact that you're saying that for a fact, or you are at least, you think that that you've heard that Jay-Z watches Beyonce do this, would you say that they're definitely into some ritualistic type of behavior?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And listen, this is something that that I've witnessed, firsthand being around, their type of situations and people that they are, that they are into, So yeah, man, it's all so weird.
Now that we're talking about Jay-Z being essentially bi, in the last interview, you mentioned that DJ Khaled, Sway, and RZA were also possibly bi or gay, and you didn't say allegedly. You were 100% sure. Is it because you mentioned the show? There, you guys were on a show together. Did you see them do anything on that show that made you believe that?
On the show, so like where their essentially gay freak off took place was in the basement of the home that we were recording in, and there were no women. It was only men, and they were downstairs, going at it. Very loud, very explicit, very aggressive, very sexual. You could hear everything, that was happening. It was like being in like a porn for IMAX, like just loud and in your face and surprising. And like I said, King Tech was trying to drown out what was happening. King Tech has been Sway's business partner for 30 years. He was working on the projects that I was doing. King Tech was one of the judges of One Shot, along with Crooked Eye, Mike Smith, and Sway Calloway. He was one of the judges, and he was co-producing on a project that I was involved in. And he was, trying to drown out what was taking place downstairs, but he couldn't, because when you're recording music, it's like stop and go. So it stopped. But you could tell that he was trying to like mask it, turn it up, keep it as loud as possible and keep it going while they were downstairs going at it.
I want to make it clear that it's not that we have anything against anybody's preference, but sometimes it appears that these people aren't even gay. They're just kind of going with the flow or being made to do things, compromising, essentially selling out to, make it to the next level. Would you say you've seen any of that? Like artists that are not gay or don't appear gay, and then they're in there doing things that they wouldn't normally do, but they're doing it for a check or doing it for an opportunity?
Yeah, correct. Or just because they're fans. I mean, listen, I don't know what makes them, I don't know what makes them do that, right? To go there. I was more disappointed in the whole fact that Sway Calloway, being a journalist, an esteemed journalist, someone that I really looked up to, that I thought would be like like a very honest, objective, fair person. Like I was so excited about meeting him, and to see that, he had a wife, and, there he is committing adultery, as well as, RZA, somebody who gave me the Apocrypha book. Like he was one of the people that he seemed very, very spiritual at first. And now 10 years later at One Shot, and here he is in these, basically a gay orgy. It was 4 people. So, I mean, it is what it is.
My theory is that it's all related to the occult. Like I said, if you look into Thelema, you would see a lot of these practices, a lot of even the gay hookups, that was also seen in Thelema as a rite. That's what they call it. It was a rite which represents, it's a ritual. They go through these degrees and they have to do certain rituals. And in Thelema is do what thou wilt, which do whatever your will, and manifest your desires, all that stuff that is taught in the New Age essentially now. So as I'm describing this, is it appearing like the religion of the music industry to you?
Definitely. It seems like that's the basis or maybe the foundation of it.
Interesting. And you know who Ab Soul is, right?
Hmm.
He made a whole album. You can look it up. It's called Do What Thou Wilt. And it was inspired by Aleister Crowley. All of the songs were rights within the album. And recently he tried to end it all. I don't know if you heard about that back in 2022. Jaguar Wright was just talking about that recently on her last interview, where she mentioned, your interview with me and how you were exposing the truth.
Right.
So speaking about that, did you get to see the Jaguar Wright Piers Morgan interview?
I did. Both versions.
What did you think?
When I first saw it, I was so happy for her and I was blown away. And I was so happy that she crossed over to mainstream. And I really looked at Pierce like, okay, this is changing. You know, we've now hit mainstream. But then to see that he censored his uncensored show was really, really disappointing. And he did it based on the lawyer of Jay-Z and Beyonce. Their words. Like no proof, just their words that this is not true. Jay-Z and Beyonce have never, participated in anything like this. Jaguar Wright is not telling the truth. And Pierce Morgan took that as face value and as evidence and decided to censor his interview, which he says is uncensored, was so disappointing. Like he's going off the word. He's going off the word of Jay-Z, a man that is business partners with Diddy, with R. Kelly, and with Harvey Weinstein. He's going to go off the word of that man who has made his life and career off promoting explicit and violent and vulgar rap music. They're going off the word. He's going off the word of them, just words, not any kind of investigating. I was so disappointed because he could have taken a stand there and said, we're not censoring this interview and prove it to us that you aren't this way. And I feel like a ball was dropped, and to see it censored was really shocking, And that's one thing that I'll say here is I've been watching academics stream Jaguar Wright's interviews and add in his commentary that he tries to be objective on. Seems like he's being objective, but in my opinion, it seems like he's come to the conclusion that she is indeed, false, right? And that's also very disappointing. And he's just going off his own opinion and feeling, not talking to her, not being in the same room with her, not, really like exploring it. And that's one thing that, that I would like to say to academics is, bro, you can contact Drake and you can contact Future the Prince and you can see when they last did a deal with me, because academics has got such a good relationship with Drake. He's an advocate for Drake. He speaks out for Drake. He's almost a publicist for Drake at this point. And Future the Prince. He knows both of them. He has direct contact and communication with them. I want academics to ask them if they know who I am and when is the last time that they have done business with me. And that is this year of 2024, right? Not 2023 or 2022. 2024 is the last time that Drake and Future the Prince have paid me to do a deal with them. So if I can touch the levels of Drake, and I should add a pause and a no Diddy to that. If I can touch that level, who is the biggest artist in the game, right? Until Kendrick basically broke him down, if I can go that high, then everybody else is also within reach. So like I would like to challenge academics to, see if I'm telling the truth. And he can do that by simply contacting Drake and contacting Future the Prince and see my relationship with them and that how I've worked with them, and then start there and then go back. So when I'm saying Jay-Z's a cuckold, it's because I know that Jay-Z's a cuckold. If I'm saying that like facts, like almost to a situation where my roommate was being groomed and being vetted out and being followed to see if he would, if they expressed they were attracted to him, right? They expressed that they were interested in him, and they vetted him out they were watching him, and he kept telling me, and I was like, no, bro, you're bugging, you're tripping. It's not even like that. Well, it was like that because they want to keep that secret. And that's just one of the things. And like what I've seen from Rock Nation and what I've seen from Tidal, like this isn't misinformation, that we are spreading. It's based on fact. And someone like Academics who likes to speak down on those things can simply text Drake and can simply text Rock Nation and can get the truth that, yes, I was involved. And once up until this year, not last year, not 10 years ago, not 20 years ago. And this is one thing that I'll say about Jaguar Wright is a lot of people are saying, well, Jaguar Wright's last project that she did with Jay-Z was in 2021 for Unplugged, right? And
2001.
2001. Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
And she hasn't been around. Okay, but this is what I know. It's like since I've done your show, and then from doing real life, from doing their podcast and from doing other interviews, the people that have come to me, the victims that have come to me and sent me information and sent me screenshots and sent me, their stories that they just want to speak to somebody because nobody believes them. If I've gotten that in 2 months since I started speaking out, imagine what Jaguar Wright, who's got a way bigger reach and has got a way bigger base, imagine what she has received from people and victims. And I'll talk to these people, and I know that she does too. And Jaguar and I haven't even spoke about this, what I'm saying right now. But if I'm getting this information from survivors and from victims and people who don't want it to be known that they've taken part in these things because they have families, right? They have careers, they have other things in their lives. They don't want people to know. They just want to express that because they've seen me speaking on like your platform and other platforms. So they'll speak to me. So I've been like, it's been so crazy the amount of people that have reached out to me. So I know that Jaguar is through the roof. So Jaguar is up to date and current and dealing with so many people, way more than I am. And it's very, very, very real and very sad that the stories that I've heard and the experiences. Now, some of it, when I like, go through the process and be like, is this real? Is this true? Is this not? But it's overwhelming the amount of information that I've got. And the people who are related, who are keep telling me to, speak out. It's absolutely crazy. So I hate it when people say that she is not informed and she's just making up all this stuff, because I know that she is very informed.
Piers Morgan, he's controlled media in my opinion, and I only think he invited Jaguar on there so she can pile up on Diddy, because my theory is right now, they made Diddy the enemy for the entire industry. So they're trying to pin everything on just Diddy. That's how they're washing their hands out of it. They're like, hey, Diddy did it all. Diddy is the monster. We don't do that stuff. It's only Diddy that does that. You understand what I'm saying?
Correct.
So it's like they're sacrificing Diddy because he's the one that's already in trouble with the higher ups from his deal with the IGO. I think that's the brand code.
Right.
But with Academics, he's also controlled media as independent as he wants to appear. He's signed to Elliot Grange, which is the son of Lucy and Grange. He signed directly to Strange Music. That's why Academics promotes Ice Spice, and he was a crucial part in 6ix9ine's career. So Academics is not independent media. Academics is bought by the major labels. He's going to protect the major labels. And Jay-Z is one of those big executives that he doesn't want problems with. He knows what Jaguar Wright is saying is the truth. He knows it. He's just going to do his job, which is like what you did at one point as a publicist, is to protect these artists and build them up. He's not trying to build them down. The only time he went against Diddy was when Diddy was having issues, well, not Diddy, when he was having issues with Young Miami and the other artist, I forgot his name. So Academics started going at Diddy, but I'm pretty sure he got a call about that. And you can see him, he's been trying to discredit just about every case that comes up with anything that has to do with Diddy or Jay-Z. And specifically Jay-Z, he's going to protect Jay-Z. He's going to protect Drake. But we know why he does that. The only reason he's doing that is because he's paid by Elliot Grange and Lucy and Grange. Lucy and Grange owns UMG. UMG, Universal Music Group, is the biggest label and houses, if I'm not mistaken, it also houses Def Jam. Correct?
Correct.
And Rock Nation. So
Correct.
if Rock Nation and Def Jam both fall under the same label that Academics is, technically he signed to his son's label, but it's his son's. It's it's Lucy and Grange's son, so he still has some authority there. I can see why Academics wouldn't be open to even take her seriously.
Right.
It, um,
Well, that's why I challenge him because I'm riding with her. I know what she says. I know what she says is the truth. Is to challenge Academics to simply make the call or make the text about to Drake and Future the Prince about me and Rock Nation, and then it can never be disputed. And I wonder if Academics would say that. Okay, well, I spoke to Drake, I spoke to Future, and yes, he has been involved with Drake's camp now for 7 years. And yes, they just did a deal earlier this year where they paid him me. So I would like to see that happen because it needs to happen because Jaguar Wright needs some she needs some respect on her name at this point because she's out there fighting the good fight.
it wasn't just even Academics too. It was Teray. It was also DJ Vlad. It was like they were attacking her credibility. It's like they came out like they were sick in the dogs. Like get them, get them. They don't want no one talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce. Did you hear what Vlad said?
I did.
What'd you think about that?
I thought it was disgusting because Vlad would love to have her on his YouTube channel because he would get the most views that he's received in a long time. And that's what Vlad is about those views. And he is I said this before on this thing that I went viral on TikTok the other day is Vlad, me being a white person, it just he's the reason why we're called culture vultures. And he likes to go at, it seems like over the last 2 months, he's had issues with two different women of color. So I think that really needs to be looked at. I can't stand DJ Vlad, to be honest, and his whole program. Like I can't stand the guy. Once again, I've dealt with him, dealing with Slaughterhouse and Crooked Eye direct, and he's just he's a culture vulture in every sense of the word.
I recently just spoke about him and I was doing a video on Jaguar Wright and I put it in there. The fact that DJ Vlad admitted he was a Freemason, open as day.
Yeah,
He, on one of his episodes, he said he joined the Freemasons and that he never followed up, but we all know he said, I don't even think I should be talking about this right now. So it's, these are the people that they're sending to quiet her up. They have credibility because they have these large platforms. So you have Teray. I don't know. I know he's a journalist, but I don't think he has anything really going on today. But I know back in the 2000s and stuff like that, he was more popular. But they have him come out. They have Vlad come out. They have DJ Academics come out. They have essentially everyone in media try to discredit the Jaguar Wright, even though Jaguar Wright was saying the same thing about Diddy last year, and everyone was calling her crazy. 1 year later, fast forward, he's arrested for the exact same things that she was saying. And no, they give her credit now, but now they're doing the same exact thing with Jay-Z. No, it's impossible. Jay-Z would never. Maybe she's saying this because she knows something that you guys don't. And maybe you should listen because if she was right once, there's a possibility that she could be right twice.
no, she's right. She's right for sure. And even like Joe Budden, like when Star and Buck Wild, came out and had her on the phone when she called in, and then he starts disrespecting her and cussing her out, saying the B word over and over again on air for his listeners. I was shocked about that behavior because he could have got his point across without degrading her and calling her the B word over and over again. Like
Star, right?
that's just not even there's nothing okay about that. And Academics and Joe Budden have both gave him a pass and laughed about this man being verbally abusive to a woman, calling her the B word over and over again. And that was really disappointing for me to see Joe Budden agree that that behavior to talk to a woman like that is okay. That just lets you know, okay, these men cuss out their women, degrade them with the B word, because nobody's speaking out that a black woman was just, you know, verbally abused on air, calling the B word over and over again. Everybody was just like, yeah, it's what she deserves. She's spreading misinformation. That's
I,
crazy.
but that's what they do. That's how they control the narrative. And you, as a publicist, I feel that you should definitely have a good inside look at this because, like you said, they hired you to spread a narrative. They hired you to cover things up in the past. This is how they control the narrative. This is how they control who gets in trouble, who doesn't get in trouble, what's okay and what's not okay. You go to people who are the voices of the industry. Academics is a voice of the industry. Vlad, however you want to look at him, he still has a large enough platform where people go to him for hip hop content. So essentially, these people are the voices, and they're easy to buy out. You give them money, and they say whatever you want them to say. I don't think they're doing this because they want to. Maybe they're afraid of messing up relationships as well. But still, that's just still money. It's all money related. They're mouths that you can buy, and I
Right.
feel like they're being sicked on Jaguar Wright.
Correct.
Now, in the last interview, we spoke a lot about Drake, and you don't have to agree or disagree, but from what I got from it, this is my opinion. I think that Drake might have had issues with you because you were working with his baby mother at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She got pregnant. She told you that she got pregnant before the world found out. You ended up on some magazines or some blogs or something like that of that sort where you were speaking about this pregnancy and you confirmed it before Drake had confirmed it. And then Drake also thought that maybe that information was leaked to Kanye's side because you had connections to Kanye through a good music artist, which is Sci-Hi the Prince.
Correct.
Then you believe that because of this incident, Drake might have made some calls, or someone in Drake's squad, or someone around Drake, or someone that just maybe just a super fan of Drake. Who knows? We're not saying Drake did anything, but maybe someone close to Drake might have made some calls where you're from, had some people do what they did to you when you were essentially kidnapped in your own home, right? Or it was
Correct.
a home invasion and you were robbed and you were attacked. And would you say now at this point, is that correct? Is that basically what either Jaguar Wright was saying or what you believe now?
Yeah. So Jaguar Wright said that. Then you and I spoke about it. And then again, like after she did Pierce Morgan and the interview that she did, that's like 1.5 million views, she doubled down and brought it up again. And once she did that, people back home, because so many people are paying attention, that we're finally getting justice. So I'm going to the prosecutor. His name is Crit Cunningham in Kentucky. He's the one who, had the three people arrested and convicted. I'm going to have him look into the case along with the chief of police in Louisville because it's so much out in public to look into the case and to see if they can connect any dots into the investigation of Drake and his involvement. I'm going to do that. Like I'm in the process of writing that, putting together all the evidence, and that's something I'm definitely doing this week because that's something that needs to be looked at, by the authorities. And with you talking about it on your show, with Jaguar Wright continuing to talk about it, it's reached so many people at this point that they're gonna have to at least look into that. And if there's something there, hopefully, press some kind of charges and get some justice here for that.
Okay.
Because at the very least, he taunted it.
Definitely no. And if he's involved in any way, then justice, you deserve it. You know what I'm saying? What
Or
happened to
yeah,
you?
or if he funded my exes who got a super lawyer in
Yeah,
Louisville that
exactly.
she could not afford for 2 years to come at me. Like I couldn't even heal from the home invasion because they were right at my neck and they were right at my throat.
Yeah,
Right, like very aggressive style. And I still don't know what that is to the day. But as I'm putting it together, as Jaguar mentioned, there's enough to go to the police to report a crime. And people will see that. People will see that when I report it and that I believe that it's Drake. It'll definitely hit the wire, and people will find out that, you know, that I'm looking into charges against Drake for his involvement in the home invasion. We'll see where that goes. Hopefully it comes back as he had no involvement. He was just mad because I was working with Sophie, and that's why he made those claims, and he taunted me, you know, in that song. And I know I have a confidentiality agreement with Drake, and I know we did a deal earlier this year, but when I think about that, because I've just ignored everything for so long, when I think that Drake actually taunted me with the situation that has ruined my family, where I was duct taped and bound and pistol whooped and held in my home with my 14-year-old daughter, if he's going to taunt that, then really at this point, I hate to cuss, but it is Drake, because I don't want anything to do with him. There's nothing that he could pay me, you know, to be involved with him, because he's taunting me in the worst thing that's ever happened to me, something that I'll never get over, and something that's destroyed the relationship with my daughter. And if that's fair game to him because I was representing his baby mama, then, I mean, you know, you're talking about one of the wickedest people in the world, you know? So hopefully, you know, I don't want to say anything and keep going, but just, you know, just leave it with the authorities, and hopefully we can get charges.
Just to put this out there, if for any reason Drake was involved and it's related to a crime, NDAs are no longer valid.
Exactly.
We have to put that out there as well. So yeah, you can have an NDA, but if for any reason you were involved, Drake was involved in anything that could have been considered criminal against you, that NDA is no longer honorable. You can speak, but I'm not saying to do that now. I'm just saying
correct. Well, it's more about protecting Sophie.
I see.
You know?
Okay.
But I will tell you this, and I've never said this before, and this doesn't affect my confidentiality with Sophie. But I also heard that he was hiding a daughter then. So when Kendrick Lamar came out and said that, I was shocked, because I heard that back in 2017, that Adonis was not his first child, that he had a daughter, and that Adonis has a sister. I heard that from being within the camp. And that's why I told you, like, you know, have academics check me, test me, you know, any of those guys who claim they know Drake, you know, to see if I'm not involved with Future the Prince, if I'm not involved with his lawyer, Larry Stein, if I'm not involved with Drake direct. So I do know that I never met her, but I did hear that he did have a daughter, and I heard that he was a deadbeat. And from what I've heard from other people that don't like him, the stuff that Kendrick Lamar was saying in those disses were so powerful, and it's brought Drake to his knees so strong, is because it is so real. And Drake does have people around him that don't like him and that aren't happy with him, right? So they complain, just like if you and I, we work, you know, at a job, right? And we know that our boss is like foul and we hate our job, but it's paying us good money. We got to take care of our families. You know, we're going to do the water cooler talk, and we're going to talk about, man, I can't stand that supervisor. I can't stand our boss, and all those things. Drake has those people in his team and his circle right now that do not like him, that I think fed Kendrick Lamar some of that information because it's too true, you know, like, and then Kendrick comes out and exposes that. And that's why Drake has taken, you know, such a hit, because he just got hit with the truth. Right. So I've heard about Drake's daughter since 2017.
Okay. Now, with the Drake and the Kendrick Lamar situation, I feel that a lot of the things that Kendrick said was basically already out there.
Right.
You know, the biggest thing that he said was that Drake was a PDF file. You know,
Right.
You know what that means. So
Correct.
essentially, that was already pretty much, I've been saying that since 2021, that I feel the same way because of the video of him with the 16-year-old girl on stage, that even after he confirms her age, he kisses her and feels on her. So, that's kind of PDF file behavior, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole Kendrick and the only reason why I couldn't buy into that beef whatsoever, and I felt that it was highly manufactured, was because it came at a point where hip hop was very, very, very dry. It was being reported that hip hop was having its worst year. Sales weren't coming in, and a lot of people say that why would Drake want that to be, have been said about him? Why would he agree to a manufactured beef where Kendrick would say something so, but crazy about him? But that's the thing. Everyone was already saying that. Even academics. There's old videos of academics saying that Drake was into them young. He was joking, but there's videos of it because it was common knowledge. I don't think it was anything out there, but I do agree that this backfired on Drake. They've
Yeah,
definitely
for
both made
sure.
a lot of money. Drake made a lot of money and Kendrick Lamar have made a lot of money, but who came out on top? Kendrick Lamar did come out on top, but I don't think that takes away from the label's involvement in this beef, because who benefited the most was the record
Oh
labels.
yeah, they came out on top.
Yeah, they own both of the artists.
Correct.
Kendrick Lamar, people think that he's an independent artist, but he's not. He's actually has an imprint through Universal Music. And Drake's best, his baby father, if you want to call him that, is Lucien Grange, the head of Universal Music Group. So,
Correct.
they're both into the same groups. But I definitely agree with you that this did not end up on Drake's best. It wasn't something that, I don't think it went the way Drake expected it.
Correct.
But I definitely want to see where this goes, because I know that you can't speak about Drake. I feel, and you could agree or disagree, I feel that there's more that you want to say about Drake, but you legally cannot. Can you
That's
agree?
correct.
Okay, so,
And to protect Sophie.
and to protect Sophie, which it's an honorable thing to do, and I respect it. And it's honestly, I don't want you getting in trouble. You shouldn't get in trouble for saying the truth. It shouldn't be that way. But in this industry, that's how it operates. Would you say that that's common though? People have to sign NDAs like nothing in the industry. That's just something that happens every day.
That happens when you go to parties.
And at parties too, they make you sign NDAs.
That's correct.
And can you tell me how these NDAs look like? What are they asking from you? Not to talk about the party?
Yeah, not to talk about the parties. They'll take your phone. They'll put your phone in a bag, and you can't have your, cell phone. That's why a lot of people are saying there's no, you know, uh, evidence of the Diddy parties and what's going on. Like, because you got to think those are huge events that he did almost nightly, and there's not a lot of photos out there of these parties. Like, if we're going to go to, if you and I are going to go to a club in New York, there's going to be so many parties of that club in New York that people are posting, to their Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And at last night at Diddy's parties, you would lose your phone and you would have an NDA agreement sign at the door.
Is it the same with Jay-Z's parties, the ones that you attended?
Yeah, of course. That's honestly, it's common protocol.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about your Publicist career.
Okay.
What would you say would be the most shadiest thing they made you do as a publicist?
The Rihanna situation,
And why would you say that?
because of just how it ended, and how it's like affected me for now 19 years.
Yeah, because I see people, they were like, oh, he's a liar because he admitted to, even though you literally told them you only said this because they offered you. And I found out what they offered you. Apparently, you don't have to agree with me. What I read online was that they offered to help one of your artists with a title deal or something of that sort. Now, you don't have to agree, but that's just what I read online. You
Mhm.
know? Now, Rihanna, did you know Rihanna? Like, did you meet her?
I did, of
And
course.
was she not like what she is today? Would you say that she was different or more innocent?
I don't know, because when I met her, she was very reserved, very quiet, and she appears to be that way too. It's just like kind of Michael Jackson-ish, like very soft spoken, but then, when he got on stage, he became someone else. I think that's more of her thing. I think she's like a shy, introverted person. But when I was around her, like I didn't know. And there's that information out there as well, about Rihanna and about the publicity stunt, because I was supposed to fall on the sword completely and say that, that I didn't even know her, that I never even worked on the project, but it was too far out there and it was too far known that, and it just like, it was so sloppy. It fell apart because people have known, since 2005, especially like the industry people in the media have covered Rihanna at the beginning of her career because I was involved. Right. So as far as if she's changed, I really don't know because I don't talk to her anymore. I don't have any dealings with her. I don't know, but she seems to be the same person as far as like, very shy, very, it's kind of staying, even though she's in the limelight constantly, you don't see interviews from her or anything like that much.
Yeah. The only reason I ask is because I see Rihanna using the same symbolism as Jay-Z. I see her, partaking in like that same kind of lifestyle. And now there's even rumors that she might have been one of Diddy's, victims, or might have been at one of Diddy's parties. And there is photos of Rihanna at what appears to be a Diddy party. But, I'm not saying it's confirmed or not. It's just,
Right.
I want to know if like when you met her, did she look like this regular girl? There's just like, there was nothing crazy about her. But like, because if you look at her today, you can see that she's definitely down with the industry at this point.
Correct.
So would you say that when you first met her, would you say that they developed her into what she is today?
I just honestly, I don't know. Like my experiences with Rihanna has been nothing but very, very positive. And she seems like a very wonderful person. I really don't know. I've also seen some of the symbolism that you're talking about, but like I said, a lot of these things are so manipulative. It's like you get it like a rack of all these different clothes. And it's like, hey, try one of these for the photo shoot, or photographer will suggest. And you don't even realize what you're putting on. You don't even realize that maybe sometimes it contains a symbolism until afterwards, until people break it down. So I don't know, man. I like to think of her as somebody who is just a good person. And I think maybe she's changing to more independent, away from the industry, and just really focusing on her family.
Fair enough. At the end of the day, I feel that Rihanna might be involved in some of the industry activities. I know that she's not the one that does the treatment for her music videos, but there's even a music video where she's dancing in front of a projector screen, and behind the projector screen, they literally flash the princess of the Illuminati. So it's just things like that that makes me question
Right.
these artists. And if, for example, I'll ask you this question: you are an artist right now. I sign you to a record deal, right? And you're just doing what you do. You put on the clothes, you record the song, you shoot the music video, and then you watch the music video over, and they add Masonic imagery or occult imagery in there, and they're making you appear as satanic. Would you just go along with it, or are you going to stand up and say something? At what point is it you standing up to it, or you just going with the flow? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I think it's both. You kind of go with the flow, and then maybe you question it, and then you think these people are your friends. No, it's not that. It's really about this, and it's really about that. It's so manipulative, and it's so it's so hidden. It's such a shady business. But all that honestly from her, all that comes from Jay-Z. Jay-Z's such into witchcraft and such into symbolism that it's just crazy. And I think that's his influence. That's his input into her career.
And I agree, because she was only 16, but like that's what I'm trying to say. At what point do you stand up and say, I'm not doing that. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not a Satanist.
Right. I don't know. I don't know. I think, like I said, like it's so highly manipulative, and even if she did say that, I'm sure he's got a response.
Okay. And I'm not trying to push on you. It's
No,
just,
no, I understand totally.
I dig for the truth, and I don't have emotions when it comes to finding out the truth. That's why I feel I don't attach myself. The truth
Correct.
is the truth. I don't want to, I don't like anybody. I don't like any artist. I don't have any love for any artist. I love humans. I love people. I
Right.
love everyone, and no one gets away with it in my eyes.
Right.
If you are involved, I'm gonna call you out. And if you want to clear things up, you have a million times bigger platform than me. And I've
Right.
already had issues with Kanye West in the past. Early on my YouTube career, I exposed the same imagery and the same things about Kanye West, and I got a manual copyright strike from his team. It was literally his record label listed. It wasn't a content ID, which is what literally happens when you use someone's music video or something. This was
Right.
someone on his team. The same thing happened to me when I spoke about Tupac. I had a manual takedown, and it was the craziest thing because it was from the man who took Tupac's last photo, which I don't even understand how he managed to see. The video had like 60 or 50,000 views, and he apparently saw the video and it listed his name. I looked him up. It was the man who took the last photo of Tupac in the car with Suge Knight. So I got a copyright strike for that. I feel that I'm going to call out the truth, what I believe is the truth, no matter what the cost is.
Right.
I comprehend that you have a relationship with Rihanna, and you didn't see anything like that. So I respect that. And
Right.
we
Right.
can move on to the next question. While you were in the industry, nothing like this ever happened to you before? A different artist that didn't like something you said about them, a story you ran about them?
Never.
When Jay-Z, when you had said that about Jay-Z and Rihanna, they didn't try to threaten you or reach out to you attacking manner?
No, I was part of the team.
Okay. Oh yeah, so yeah, because you were working for Rihanna. Rihanna was
I
signed
was
to
working for
Jay-Z.
her team. Yeah, I was working for her team.
They didn't like the fact that
Not for her direct, for her team.
yeah, I get it. Because you weren't, the artist isn't hiring you. The team is hiring
Correct.
you as a publicist to
That's
work
correct.
on articles and stuff like that. So
Correct.
you saying that Jay-Z's, when they reached out to you, they told you they were going to compensate you in whatever way, and
Correct.
you were to report that you started the rumor and that it was a lie.
Correct. 10
And
years later, afterwards, after that we had put it out, after we had came out, with our marketing plan for Ponte Replay, 10 years later when the book dropped, the Becoming Beyonce book, and they found out that I was in the chapters. I didn't know I was going to be in the chapters until the book dropped, right? Then the book dropped, and all of a sudden I start getting contacted about, to speak on what happened. I think it was on Wendy Williams. The author went on, was maybe the first one. And then that exploded then back in 2015 while I was working with Tidal, helping them launch and helping them do publicity for their app against Spotify. That when I was working with them, the head of Rock Nation contacted me and wanted me to basically fall on the sword, go on television. It wasn't an artist that I was working with on Tidal. It was like Tidal had made me like, I don't know, like the producer's corner. They were going to, like, every release that I did that they would promote, they really believed in Tidal because that's like Tidal's one of Jay-Z's biggest failures, like, as you know. Like that, and so everybody just thought that Tidal would take over Spotify because he had Madonna and Kanye and Rihanna and Nicki Minaj and everybody with the and Beyonce, and it still didn't like resonate as much as it should with people. So I was promised like all these things that Tidal would do, for me, and I was like believing that Tidal would take down Spotify and Tidal would take down Apple because who can stop all those that amount of people who are supporting it, and it just didn't stick, and they didn't do anything that they said
they
at,
they
at
were the
all.
ones they were the ones that made you go on Inside Edition.
Correct.
They got that for you. They set that up.
Correct.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. So it's I want people to realize, because essentially, I'm not saying you're saying it, but I'm saying it. If they made you cover this up, they essentially made you cover up a crime that Jay-Z allegedly hooked up with Rihanna, who was only 16. Now, I
Sorry.
also read, bless you. I also read that the police were reaching out to you at a certain point about this
That's correct. But that was in 2005.
when it first happened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you obviously you denied it.
Yeah, I was so freaked out. that was 20 years ago, right? So I'm in my 20s, and like we're just like starting, and the guy that I was with, his name is William. We were in Florida. He was like an intern with me. We're just chilling in Florida and Kissimmee, like in between Kissimmee and Orlando, and we're pulled over, by these unmarked cars, and we're taken into this interrogation room over by the Kissimmee Library. And he was like freaking out, like, we're going to jail, we're going to jail. And I was like nervous, but I'm like, no, bro, we're fine. Like, there's nothing to worry about. And when I was interrogated, like in that room, I started to get nervous. Like, wait a minute, like, what's happening here, right? Because I've never been in a situation where like I'm interrogated, especially by Homeland Security and the feds or the task force. I think it's what they were for Jay-Z, because the rap artists back in the day used to have those task force that they used to always talk about. So whatever this was, these government officials, whether it was a task force, you know, um, you know, uh, looking into all the businesses of Jay-Z, they came to me and asked me about my involvement. What did I know? Did I know about him and Tierra Marie, Foxy Brown, Rihanna, like all those people? And at the time, I didn't. And it was crazy to go through that. And then they were investigating him for the stabbing of Lansom Rivera and the criminal complaints about R. Kelly. And you got to think, a man of that stature, you know, that's 20 years ago for Jay-Z as well. So he was a much different person then. So probably all the things that have been reported on Jay-Z then, 20 years ago, by various people, this is a guy who came out openly and talks about, dealing drugs and keys and everything else. Like, why wouldn't the police be tracking him nonstop? Right. This
Definitely.
is this is a guy who's openly saying that, he is still into the drug business. Right. And
Back
he
then.
could say that's just art. But yeah, when we were stopped by the feds, and they questioned us about that. I mean, I didn't know, I was like, it shook me to the core, because I was like, oh my gosh, and then it dies down, nothing happens, and then the book came out, The Becoming Beyonce, in 2015, that I'm in, and that just that brought it all back up, because here's the thing too, is like, if you look at my past, I've never done interviews, like my first one was with like Tista Tells, which Jaguar saw, and then and then I did hers, and then I did yours, and then I did other ones. Before then, this has like never been my thing. Is like doing interviews like this. You understand? Like I might have two out there, and like my whole 20 years, I've been very, very, very behind the scenes. So me coming out and speaking like this is a very new thing, from seeing some people like Jaguar, right? To come out and to speak just makes me feel like I have a responsibility to the public as well, to share the story and hopefully help some people out there, because like as I said earlier, the victims and the people that are hurting, that have reached out to me, like maybe that's what God has me doing here, is just helping people and giving someone, a security blanket, so to speak, to be able to speak about what they've been through.
Yeah, it starts with someone. Someone has to lay the foundation down. And if you're
Mhm.
basically like you're basically doing now, you're calling out, you're backing up Jaguar Wright's claims. You're saying that Jaguar Wright isn't lying about Jay-Z, or at least you believe some of the things she says regarding Jay-Z. Because I know we can't prove everything Jaguar states, because it's impossible unless you have insider information, or unless you were there. But you could at least take her word and do an investigation and see what else you find. That's how
Correct.
I like to look at it.
Oh, and that's the thing, is like, when you think about Kanye, he got his start with Jay-Z,
Yeah.
right? And Jay-Z is best friends. He was best friends with Biggie, and Biggie's best friends with Diddy. And it just goes back to those. It always goes back to those people, Jay-Z and Diddy. And one of those people is in custody in Brooklyn right now.
Yeah.
And the other is, people are thinking that he will be next. And I don't I don't think there's a question that he'll be next. I think that just the stuff that I've got from people, not only what I've witnessed and not only what I've heard from being involved in the corner, being involved in those circles, like being involved with Jay-Z's biggest artist, Rihanna. Well, Kanye would be, but I've also been involved with him. And being involved with Tidal, being involved with Rock Nation, being involved with Tidal. For me to hear all the stories then throughout the years and witness some of the stuff that I have, but now hear from these victims and people that Jay-Z, that they claim has hurt, is just so overwhelming that how could you not believe it? It's not like Jay-Z and Diddy aren't related. Like, these guys are friends. They are business partners. At every Rock Nation and Diddy party before the freak-offs, when it was just Diddy's birthdays, you see him and Jay-Z together. So why wouldn't Jay-Z and Diddy practice the same thing? Like what each other's doing. They're the same people, right? And so is Biggie's son. You know, like, once again, that I had a contract with the Notorious Big Estate. He's corrupt too. They're all so corrupt and they're all tied in together. For Kanye, it breaks my heart because I thought that he was out of it with the Jesus is King. I was like, yes, this is unbelievable, and seeing him speak out at, like, about Christianity, about God, and him not having any cuss words, and now all of a sudden it seems like he's back to that time. Is that really hurts, because the thing about God is he will forgive you, and I just felt like we were going to see Kanye just become a major Christian artist, and it just hurts to see him backslide.
Now, see me, I've been very vocal the entire time with the Kanye and the
Right.
Christian era, what I call it, but I never bought into it. And the reason why I say this is because I don't judge off of what a person says. I judge off of what a person does. And Kanye never stopped using occult symbolism. Kanye also, there was, academics said this himself, that the whole entire time that he was recording these so-called gospel artists, it was rumored that he had orgies in the studio with multiple women. Now,
oh wow,
this on top of the fact that Kanye also admitted that he sacrificed his mother. This is not my words. These are his own words. It came out of his own mouth. You can look this up.
My mom ain't here. My mama was sacrificed.
Me too.
You understand?
Yeah.
He also admitted that, through symbolism, that he's a part of the same kind of club. But I agree with you 1000%. God can get you out of anything. So I wouldn't be surprised if God got Kanye out of this situation, but I don't think it was genuine. I think that Kanye was trying to play God and he succeeded. It seemed like he was having people worship him. If we go to his church services at the beginning, at least before he came out with the gospel album, he was just he was singing his songs in a church. He wasn't singing a song from the heart to God. He was singing his own music that he already had previously made, changed a few words, and was singing it at church. And that was supposed to be a church service. But I felt that it was more centered on worshiping him. He was at the center of it. He was raising his hands, collecting all this energy. You got to remember that, like you said, a lot of this is frequencies, a lot of this is energy, a lot of this is more than what meets the eye. So that whole entire era, a lot of people say Kanye's a clone, Kanye this. I don't believe none of that. I believe that Kanye proved that he is seen as a god on earth. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what he proved. He proved that he can convince all of you to go, not you necessarily, but the masses, to go to his church and worship him, because realistically, you don't go to an artist for that kind of relationship of God. That you can listen to gospel music, but your relationship with God comes from within you. That's a personal relationship. And Kanye's music isn't gonna, some people might say it helped them. Some people might say it helped them closer to God. But in my opinion, it was just an act. And the fact that the way he reacted afterwards, like you said, it seemed like he backslid. But the thing is, it's just what he's been doing the whole time. There's an interview where he just recently did. He said that he no longer prays to God to help him. God didn't get him out of anything. He did that. He is his own God. This is 2023 or 2024.
Right now, are you in that space where you're comfortable enough to say, this is where I am right now? I'm still a man of God. Jesus still is king, but this is vultures right now. This is where I am.
Yes, but I have my issues with Jesus. There's a lot of stuff I went through.
I have my issues with Jesus. There's a lot of stuff I went through.
But I prayed and I didn't see Jesus show up. So I had to put my experience in this world, my experience with my children, my experience with other people, my experience with my account, my experience with my brand, and my experience with the level of music that I was dealing with in my own hands. So I'll be surprised that I'm still alive every day.
How did you not so-called disappear? Like, because that's a hell of a fight.
Because I'm God.
Because I'm God.
Anyone to disagree, I'm the God of me. You can't tell me who I am. I can't tell y'all. I could tell y'all. It's y'all job to listen. I'm the God of me. I don't know if I'm in heaven already and shit. I got number one. For all you know, I might be in like a fourth dimension version of the lifestyle. I don't know. I must have died in this accident.
Right.
Recently came out of his mouth. And that's the same mentality. If we go back to Thelema teaches do what thou wilt, and that you are your own God. You are the master of your will. You understand? You're the one that determines your will. And I feel that the Thelema has infected the entire music industry, not just hip hop. It was first in rock and roll. It was men like Ozzy Osbourne. I don't know if you heard of a rock band named Behemoth, David Bowie. These are all people that I have 100% confirmed were followers of Aleister Crowley. And they put this in their music. And Kanye West has also done the same thing. If anything else you want to add, anything else that you want to say before we go?
Well, so listen, with that being said, that was the disappointing thing in RZA. Because I worked with RZA. I used to work with the company. This will be the last thing. It was called Rings and Partners Entertainment, and it's owned by this rapper named Civil Rings, whose real name is Tariq. And Tariq is the guy who did the Once Upon a Time in Shaolin with RZA, that album that's been a lot of controversy because there was only one made by the drug guy, and it's been in museums now and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, Civil Rings and Partners Entertainment, that's who I was able to get contact through RZA. And there used to be this magazine called Scratch Magazine. And Scratch Magazine was a producer's magazine back in the day. It was by Harris Publications that did XXL. And it was like the greatest magazine. They covered like Dr. Dre and RZA and all the producers. And so we did a cover story for RZA, and it was done with this guy named Carl Cherry, who's now like
Apple or Spotify.
Yeah, and Jesus Trevino was the writer, and it was on RZA. So when we went to the studio, and I was with RZA, and I think he was doing like Kill Bill. He was doing some kind of score, some kind of soundtracks. Maybe it was right after Kill Bill, but no, I think it was Kill Bill. I was really disappointed because like he was talking about like the Israelites' religion, and he was talking about the 5 percenters, and he was talking about all these different things, and being like a white person, he was telling me all these things. I really respected it. And he had this other like pastor there that was with him, and he was vegan. And like I said, he gave me, I've never even heard of it up until this point. RZA gave me the Apocrypha, which is the Bible with the missing, you would know it better, but it had the missing canon. So
yeah,
he was like explaining the Apocrypha, and he seemed very religious, very like disciplined. So to see him 10 years later on One Shot, and to see him not want to do cocaine and suggesting that him and Sway Calloway and DJ Khaled don't do cocaine, so they have coke, and then to go downstairs and RZA and Sway Calloway and DJ Khaled and the guy that was with DJ Khaled to go down and have their own gay orgy was so disappointing because, like I said, this is a guy who gave me the Apocrypha. This is a guy who I really looked up to, even whatever people feel about their own religions and stuff like that. This was a person that I really looked up to with the Wu-Tang Clan. And that's one of the reasons like I'm so bothered by it. And I just want to close because a lot of people have hit me about like there's no way Sway Calloway and no way RZA. I would say the same thing being like a fan, but it did happen. They were in a gay. King Tech was there, and so was Crooked Eye. It goes by King Crooked, who's in Slaughterhouse, who's Joe Budden. Slaughterhouse was Joe Budden, Crooked Eye, Royce da 5'9", and Joel Ortiz. They were a group. Crooked Eye was like one of my best friends. He's been around my family. We've done a lot of projects together. He's also really, really close. He goes back even further with King Tech and Sway Calloway. Like, I wish Crooked Eye would confirm that all this did happen because he was there listening to the orgy. He was there listening to them. He knew what was going on because he wouldn't even make eye contact with me because, it was such a startling moment. And these are pillars of hip hop that, I was trying to look at him like, bro, like, what is this? And texting him, and he wasn't even answering me. You could just tell he wanted it over with. Crooked Eye did not participate at all in any of the in the orgy that was happening. So that was very, very disappointing. About RZA so much and Sway, people that I really looked up to.
Not to cut you off though, real quick, because it's something important that you say, that you kept saying that they did it right there while you guys were in the area, and it's close enough to hear them.
It's the house. House. They were downstairs.
I think they did that on purpose. I think that, like I was saying earlier,
that's what my ex says. That's what my ex said.
Yeah, I think that they were trying to see if you guys wanted to play ball. Not saying that they wanted to make sure that, number one, you're cool with it. Number two, this is what goes down. For example, real quick, actually the Wu-Tang. It was the Wu-Tang. It was Inspector Deck that said this. Crunchy Black said a similar story, but Inspector Deck said, and this is even better because it connects right with RZA. Inspector Deck said that he was walking around in the party and he saw this activity, guys on guy on guy. And he said it was the biggest celebrities he knew. He was shocked. At the end, he said these people approached him to check his temperature, to check his energy, to see how is he going to react. Are you going to be down to party with us and come into these rooms? Or are you going to walk out the party and we know not to invite you again? Would you say that's something like, do you think that they were testing you right there? And King Crooked, is that his name? Crooked Eye? Yeah, right?
Well, I think that Crooked Eye, or he was just as traumatized as me, but he'd known them for like 30 years. Like Sway and King Tech, I put him on the Wake Up Show. I think it's just one of those things that he's just ignored because, Sway is very powerful. Tech is very powerful with Sirius XM and Shade 45, that he doesn't want to rattle any feathers, and he just wanted it over. But there's a story that came out in like 2016 that I left one shot to be with my adoptive family, to be reunited. I think I spoke about this in the last one. And I just had to get away so fast, and my ex at the time, she was saying those same things that you're saying, was like, they were wanting, us to be involved or, that type of thing. I was like, no, that I didn't know what to think. I just wanted to get away as fast as possible. And that's why I left one shot, because it was so corrupt.
Did they at any point come up to you and try to see if you realized it, or did they just go as normal, like nothing was going on?
That was the weirdest thing, because it just went on as normal. Nobody even talked about it.
Yeah, that's crazy. And like I said, I don't think that people want to say, oh, what do you have against gay? I don't have nothing against them. But when it's kind of being forced in the industry, like, oh, you don't have a choice, I don't think it's right for artists that are trying to make it, if they're straight and they're being forced to do things with someone like Diddy for a record contract. That's not something he did at free will. That's someone that's being taken advantage of, someone they're dangling their career or their success. Hey, you either got to do this or you're going to walk out of here with nothing. You understand what I'm saying? And no one's going
Correct.
to believe them anyways. Who's going to believe it? Like, you were there, you were with them, you saw, you heard it, you experienced it, and there's still people saying, no, that's not true, you're just making this up. Why would you make this up? RZA isn't relevant right now to the moment. Sway isn't relevant right now to the moment. These are people from back in the day that no one, even DJ Khaled is most likely the most relevant person in this conversation, but he's not even, I don't see you gaining anything from you making up this story. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, correct.
I believe you 100%. I don't think that there's no reason for you to lie about this. Now, if you were saying the same story about Drake, maybe some people, oh, he just hates Drake, so that's why he's making that up. But you're saying that you were fans of these people. You're saying
Correct.
that you were hurt when you realized that they weren't who they claimed to be.
Correct.
I really,
Especially
truly
somebody who
love that.
give me like the Apocrypha, and
Yeah.
especially someone who was very like preachy to me. And I looked up, and we got him the Scratch magazine cover, with Carl Cherry. And that's why I keep dropping these other names too, is because I would love to see these people speak out. I would love to see Crooked Eye, speak out. I know he's upset with me, I'm sure, about saying these things, but nobody's came out and denied it. They've all seen these things. Nobody, CJ Wallace hasn't came out and denied anything that I've said. Crooked Eye hasn't came out and said, oh, he's not telling the truth. That's why it's like, I want people to come out and say, this is wrong. This isn't what happened, yada, 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 because it's all the truth.
With Biggie's son. So you're saying like he's a Diddy 2.0 essentially.
Yes.
What are some of the things that, since you worked with him, what are some of the things off the top of your head that you would say make him similar to Diddy that you've seen him do?
The drugs, the getting all the drugs for the parties during the pandemic.
Okay.
It's so crazy. Like, I was with my ex at the time that I told you. She was doing the project with me, and she was a former stripper. She was a former dancer. And we were going to go to Diddy's party because we were invited with CJ and Willie Mack. And I, as a hip hop head, wanted to go, of course. And I wanted to strengthen our relationship with CJ Wallace and the Notorious Big Estate because we were doing business with them. And I wanted to be at Puffy's house, right? Because of his party then. Like, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't
It's also a massive networking opportunity.
Yeah, it's like I wanted to be there. But instead we went to this rave, this Carl Cox rave in Los Angeles. And because, she was one of the people that got me into like house music and, started the whole Diddy project. I mean, the Biggie project. And we were going to go to the Carl Cox rave, and then afterwards, because they said it was going to be an all-nighter, we were going to go over to Diddy's house. But as soon as the Carl Cox show ended, the Carl Cox rave, I was texting both of them, sending a message to their Instagram, and they didn't answer. It was an unseen, and we didn't see him until the next day. And they had said, they had been at Puffy's house. He takes the phones away. Sorry about that. That we could go again some other time, right? But we had left and went back to Louisville. If we would have stayed for another week, I would have probably went to 2 or 3 Diddy parties because they were always going.
And
right. This is Notorious Big Son, who, as we know, is Puffy's. Like, a lot of people have said this, that Puffy, that Notorious Big was going to leave Bad Boy. And that's just not true, because they're confusing that with Tupac. I don't know if Tupac was going to leave Death Row, but from his own words, Biggie, his last single before he died, Hypnotized, he says, me and Puff, close like Starsky and Hutch. And he's always talking about how close him and Diddy were, right? Like, there's no sign of him leaving. And talking to his son, he was like, that was like his best friend. And CJ Wallace calls Jay-Z his uncle and Diddy like his second father behind Todd Rousseau. So once again, it's that circle that I've been exposed to of the Diddy, Jay-Z circle of Biggie. So yeah, CJ Wallace, he would always tell me, yeah, we bring we get the DMT, we get the, the ketamine, the K, they always call it K. The K, the DMT, Diddy was real big into psychedelics like mushrooms, and they were growing cannabis with the Think Big and Frank White initiative. You can read all that online about Willie Mack and CJ Wallace. And while they were growing the cannabis, they're also growing the mushrooms and, making those type of things. But they were doing all that, so much of that for Diddy, and Diddy was behind their operation. There's no Biggie without Diddy, and there's no Diddy without Biggie. So people have got to really look into the relationship of Biggie's son, CJ Wallace, and Diddy.
The only reason I believe that people are saying that Biggie wanted to leave Diddy was because, one, that Diddy robbed them of his publishing, correct? And two, it's because of Gene Deal, Diddy's bodyguard and essentially Biggie's bodyguard at the moment. He's the one that claimed that Biggie showed them a record deal with a different record label that was worth like $30 or $40 million. And they wanted Biggie to essentially like cut off Diddy and move to that label. So that's what they are assuming. That's why they're even saying Jaguar Wright believes that Diddy had Biggie taken out. Now, who knows? I don't know. In my opinion,
Biggie's mom, Valletta, also thinks that.
Yeah, and the only reason why I'll say it makes sense is because Biggie made a lot of money. I mean, not Biggie, Diddy made a lot of money after Biggie passed. It's the same thing with like Juice WRLD and Bibby. After Juice WRLD passed away, this guy made 3 times the amount of money. And you know a little bit about the music industry, probably more than me. For example, when an artist first signs, they usually get a bad deal, correct?
Correct.
Their first signing. And then after they get a little leverage, they'll get a better deal. But if you're an independent label and a major label reaches out to you, they're going to most likely offer you more than what the independent label could offer you. And you'll usually go with the major label. You'll lose that artist. They rob you of that artist. And essentially, that's what people are saying that they were going to do with Biggie. And because Biggie passed away, his mom continued signing over with Diddy, because that's who he was working with at the time. It's easier to deal with the parents, You get them to sign a few papers, you give them some money, and they just go on their way. Right. And that's probably possibly the reason. But I see your point. Biggie and Diddy never appeared to be enemies or appeared that they were having any disagreements when they were around.
That's correct.
But you wouldn't say, would you say that Biggie's son is hosting like these freak off parties possibly? Have you heard of anything like that?
They were definitely doing parties, and they were definitely involved with, Diddy's sons, for sure.
Okay.
But were they freak offs? I don't know. Like at that time, like I said, we just felt like the place to be. Like I wanted to go to Puffy's house. Like Puffy supported the song, and was very supportive of us doing a house project of the Notorious B.I.G. He thought it was a brilliant idea because we just done Eric B. and Rakim. And at that time, he still pretty much was the controlling entity had the most shares of Biggie's catalog and his publishing. So he was excited, and the fact that he was in house music and he loved doing house music and ketamine and that whole culture. So he was excited about us doing that project until he heard it. And then was like, you guys got to, do ketamine and party and all that stuff. And when we went out to LA, I wish, like now with all these things that have happened, I wish that we would have been there, because I'm the type of person that I would have just like not watched, not like Jay-Z watches his wife and not like Diddy watches his people, but I would have just observed and watched to see like how wicked this was. I would have loved to seen it, because I would have noticed, right? That something was going on.
All right.
But listen, during the whole pandemic, like when I was doing the project, yo, you got to come to Puffs. You got to come to Puffs. Yo, it's going down. Oh, if you were at Puffs, like they were going there. CJ Wallace and Willie Mack was going there all the time when Diddy was in LA.
Anything else that you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, that's it, man. Whatever, if you're good, I'm good. And I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate, you speaking your truth and exposing these things. So I'm always available for you, and it's just an honor to really, talk to you and do this with you.
I appreciate you too, man. And it's an honor talking to you. I respect the fact that you're not afraid to come on this platform and, say these things that other people would be terrified to say. They don't want to lose their connections or they don't want to get blackballed. But, you're moving with God and you're doing the right things.
Right. I agree.
All right, man. I appreciate you talking to me. Well, that's it for this one. I appreciate you guys for watching to the end, and I'll see you guys in the next one.